Angry newspaper. What else? Only you are the best swimming monster. If you go down, someone else will. I see it's still hesitating. Newspaper just kicked it down. Don't whine, come down now. Dried fish cry no tears it kicked down. I finally have to bite my teeth. It swims around for a while. I saw a bubble in front of me. He immediately went to the back of the stone and looked. But what emits bubbles is a cloth bag. I can't see the shadow of Tran hung at all. The crocodile stood there, looking around for a moment. A moment later, it was stolen from behind. Suddenly hit to break the neck. The monsters are sitting there waiting. Suddenly, the dog came down to the river screaming. Look at the blood. To the sound of it screaming. Under the river, and a crocodile's head flew out and crashed right into its face. The dog immediately fainted on the spot. Tran Hung is also flying up from the water. He just jumped at him with a straight punch. Baby changed the scene to the strange side. Now the love frogs have come flying bats to the top of their heads. He looked at the group in front of him and spoke softly. 2 level A 1 level B SAO. The frogs don't speak. That quickly jumps down from the back. Is your leader crazy or what? And just send your guys here. Will not die very wastefully. Baby frogs don't care. Take out a magic weapon immediately. Whatever you say to your mouth. The 6th seal of the ginkgo. It was a bit of a surprise to see what was in his hand. A kind of heirlooms. According to the law, it creates a forest. It was quickly covered in a seal. Watch for a moment and then say. This is a kind of seal SAO frogs love to laugh out loud. Haha, that's right. But that's not its only effect. Silently continue talking. These things often have the same ability to guess. Your armor may be similar to that of a god. Inside, you can increase the power of your people. It also reduces the power of the enemy. That's right, frog. Listen to him. It is easy to discover the secret of magic. Then jerked all over me. Slowly take off your shirt and continue. It must be your trump card. That makes you so confident. Turns out, it's just a normal kind of support. Frogs love fear. Command 2 monsters next to Lamb Devil. It's your turn, cowboy. The 2 monsters heard that and immediately stood up. In front of the frog lover. Saddle, leaf swinging robe, Ra laughed. Even though we haven't moved in a long time. I will take the opportunity to have fun with you for a while. The devil has been punched for a while. Half a face. The devil is in the back. He's trying to get air through his ears. But the saddle has discovered. Suddenly, there was a great fire on him. The devil's hat was burned by him. There's only a little air left. The devil eats a great trick. Come back next to the frog. It's a smash on its head. Is also slowly restoring frog love at the moment. I also realized something. Panic says you're not the level A you are. Before he finished speaking, the silence spoke. Yes, I am, but I haven't he said it yet. After that, behind him. On the ground, a dung beetle suddenly came up. If he didn't react, he jumped. Hold on to his body. It was a puff of smoke flying straight into his hand. He didn't wear a mask on the ground. He is also currently practicing law. The 6th movement of the white bone in Van Yen trouble. Activating Van and Anxiety Ha is a trick to create, but the sound echoes in the opponent's ear. They have no way to focus on fighting. After realizing the 6th form of the dung beetle, it's a little contemptuous. He said that he was only B-level and wanted to stop me. But suddenly, there were countless echoing sounds in his head. This is a sign of trouble. When the frog saw that, he shouted at him. He has won the trouble of Yun Yen. He can't fight us anymore. Don't move forward. Lamb devil. The head is about to fully recover. The devil thought he was burned to death. There is also a movement right now. On the Tran Hung side, he's solved it now too. Some of the monsters he punched. He is currently hiding on one. Aesthetic observation treetops. Is it true that he won the sun's trouble? Or not? Why does he still have so much energy to fight? Don't tell me he destroyed his hearing. Just as the newspaper thought, both sides of Tran Hung's ears are covered in blood right now. Love alarm in the mind of the thought. I can't stand one with him. If not for the help of the trouble. Should I leave? But running away also means death. I would die if the queen knew. I have to keep fighting, but it's also a deadly choice. Tran Hung is standing still right now. Look at the forest in front of you. They're hiding. Or wait for me to go into the forest. Newspapers also immediately notice the difference. Why hasn't he continued to attack? Or is he hesitating? He's afraid of an ambush in this forest. It's very possible to lose your hearing. He can't just use the flesh. That can locate its own position. In other words, we can use tactics. That's taking advantage of it, his hearing weakness. When he thought of this, he put his hand on his mouth, in a nearby open field. The monster. At first, it seemed as if she had been raped by Chen. And now, there's absolutely no harm. I can hear the whistle of the leopard. It immediately rushed over. Tran hung after observing for a moment. I decided I couldn't waste my time here. Then he went straight into the forest. On the saddle side, he is currently surrounded by 3 monsters. I saw them come together. He opened his mouth and screamed. Follow his scream. Immediately, a fire of God's glory came up. The monsters. I saw the fire coming out of him. Then back and forth. Sun at this time also went to the frog, Love said. This power of his must be on par with reason. Darling Frog nods. The queen is wrong. He must be one of the strongest fighters. Of the court, the army is quiet right now. There are countless echoing sounds in my head. Make him have no way. Concentrate the power. Even the south is divided. It can't solve anything either. That sound. The problem is really hard to solve right now. Even when they're much weaker than me. That's how this sound works. It can also make you lose control. I have to kill them all. I can't leave any names. I will use half the power to suppress that sound first, then quickly defeat them. Think about here. Behind him, something appeared. Very quickly behind him, southern separation has turned into a pair of wings. The top, there is also a fire. A red sphere as bright as the sun. Mini Sun saw that. Immediately turned to shout out to the beloved frog. Hurry up and turn the seal around. Loving frogs hear that, without hesitation immediately follow. My eyes are still cold now. Look at them screaming. Go to hell, follow his scream. The fireball Kier immediately launched Fire Deem, shoot straight at them. The 2 monsters couldn't escape. I can just stand there. Watch the fire coming. Where does the fire go? That place became a ruin. Until it hits the light. The new Kier seal is blocked. 10 good right now. To feel something immediately in the practice of waking up. He immediately turned around and looked at what he was asking. The Lord glanced at him. Another master came to the sun. He's very strong. Inside the ginkgo cave right now, suddenly, a man came in front of the queen. It's hard for the queen to understand who's coming, staring at him. This man is a beggar. I had a fight with 10 people in the city. He smiled and looked at the queen. I'm the beggar here to resign. The queen was surprised to hear that. Resignation is not what you said. I want to be seen in person. We see the birth of a new age and the fall of the great dynasty, or Sao. Why did you choose to leave now? The war between us and the army has not yet begun. The beggar shook his head. No, the change of history has already occurred. From now on, I will resign. The queen sighed when she saw that he was so determined. Okay, if you have decided, I will not stop you. Waiting for them to come back. We'll ask them to return the 2 treasures. It's hard to hide and hide for you. In spite of her prediction, the beggar shook his head. No need. The octopus needs those 2 things more than this beggar. On the quiet side, after launching a Kier earthquake, the seal has also been struck out of an eye. The earth is also being dug into a deep hole. The frog also loves the sun standing nearby. Look at the seal gaping out of your mouth. This is the first time I see there's one person who can break a corner of the seal. With an attack like that. Look at the 2 frogs standing there unscathed. I can't believe it. Aesthetics are not right for their level. It's completely impossible to avoid his attack. But how did they do it? Or that this seal has shifted their position. I have to check it myself. Finished talking, in his hands immediately appeared a fire. Then he launched to demons. The hat and the devil come. The 2 of them didn't hide. Let the fire strike in front of you. Very quickly a powerful explosion was again emitted. Wait for the dust to spread. The 2 hell-bent guys are 2. I can't see it. The eyes suddenly became tense. Because he found Tukir. That's what appeared behind my back. He just turned his head. The devil immediately hit me. I didn't have time to think much, so I took my hand out. Devil hat on the side. They also quickly start the air. The direction of his neck. I saw the Kier vents coming. Just quiet and scream. The firefighter followed his scream. 2 flames immediately appeared from the palm of his hand. Kier's air vents didn't reach his neck. They were bitten by them. Then they killed the evil one. Look at the devil. In the back. Now the 2 wings appear again so I can see you. Avoid an attack. We're close to the south. Why? But he just finished. Then he's suddenly transported to the roof. Looking at the 2 monsters below, he said coldly. This time they changed their position. The frog is a little afraid to look at the magic in his hands. Fortunately, we did it at the right time. Turn the scene to Tran Hong. He's still walking in the woods. It's been a while. I don't understand why the 2 Kier don't follow me anymore. Or they've run into something else. Tran hung a hog, according to the confused mood, worried. Go straight into the forest. The leopard is also quietly following Theo. He does not crawl. And suddenly, it feels like there's movement next to the ground. Startled to look. Very quickly, the earthworm monster Kier came up. When you see it, you breathe out. Then I pointed to my ear. That martial artist is deaf, and you'll attack him first. The earthworm nodded when he heard it. And then he came to the back of Tran Hung. Wait close behind Tran Hung. It immediately jumped up and attacked. On this side is still falling into meditation. Now I can only say with certainty that his treasure. They can move their position and theirs. It ignores all the characteristics of the target. Even the class difference between the user and the target. You can change the position between them. Such a harmful treasure. There must be some limits. I just need to find the possibility, and how it works. Then there's nothing these two guys can do about us. He looked quietly for a moment, and then told the frog. This guy is too strong. The devil and the conical hat can't be defeated. He has to use it. When the frog heard it, he nodded in agreement. Sun then held up the pipe in his hand. Just smoke and get closer to the seat. It's very difficult to watch him go. Then the mountain opened its mouth and breathed out. Out of his mouth, there were immediately countless weapons surrounding the frog's body. He also immediately turned the law. The two demons and the conical hat immediately disappeared. When he appeared again, he was on the left and right. Even though it is difficult to understand their actions, there's not much time to analyze. Jump into battle with these two level A monsters. Wait a minute. The atmosphere around the old man was not wrong. Full body covering. He just turned his head and told the frog, "Okay, baby frog, nod right away. Keep turning the magic." The two monsters returned next to Sun. The rest of it has now been moved inside the Sun case right now. Do not hesitate to immediately enforce Vin Yen trouble up. According to his cry, it comes instantly through all the senses. Penetrate into the body is the silent cry screaming in his head. Immediately became extremely intense. His eyes are now filled with blood. There's a green tendon rising up on the forehead. He was on the verge of losing control. The frog immediately shouted. He was hit, and we all rushed together. Two monsters, Lamb Devil and Conical Hat, once again rushed. The leaves are disturbed by Kier's sound. Just stand there stupidly. Soon the hat jumped on his back. The four of them held him tight. The devil is in front. He wouldn't stop punching him. Very quickly, he was punched by it, and the crochet crumbled. Fire of life extinguished directly loss of life. On the Tran Hung side, the situation is similar. He's also attached to earthworms. 4Kai user tightly wrapped. Love to see your partner win. I was immediately happy to jump out. Haha, you are definitely dead. Tran Hung is smiling now. I've been waiting for you to fly for a long time. He immediately had a huge shock. He immediately enters an enhanced state. The earthworm that's reporting on you is immediately knocked out. The leopard that was flying by was also grabbed by him. And then he put his head on the ground. This trick is so powerful. The surrounding ground also cracked. Finished processing, they looked at the forest again. The queen heard the beggar talking about the four statues. Then startled. Why did one of the four statues come to the east, eh? We haven't done anything yet. The beggar laughed. Chu Tuk is the head of Hadong Highway. He has a treasure. It's able to teleport masters in the blink of an eye to very remote locations in the domain of Zhuzhou Tai. The queen was still a little mistrustful. But the name that I felt before, only at level A+. The beggar heard that, the deeper the laughter became. It's going to take a lot of gas to activate. I want to get here from such a distance. That guy must have used his own gas to activate that security. When the queen heard this, she fell into silence. 10 good in it. The hotel is now extremely anxious to see the city. What is the situation? The city is not overflowing with water. Master, you are okay. But the flame of the master's life appeared in the fishing village of Sun. It's turned off. 10 good listening, then it's horrible. Feng Sheng shook his head. It's hard to say, but the monsters fought with him. It's a little unusual. I think I've seen their treasures before. I want to go out and see if you go. Move the scene to the fishing village. The monsters had gathered in one place. Look at your body without any air on the ground. Sun was a little uncertain. Is he really dead? He just finished. A fireball hit him. He fell from the ground and raised his head to the house. Finished a name. 4 statues of Liu Yen cultivate 2 types of elaborate. The first is the south. According to legend, this fire can suppress all monsters. It's one of 8 fires, the most powerful in the world. It is also the supreme technique of southern Zhou Duke. The second is the 7 stars. This is a mandatory procedure that every generation of 4 statues has to do. Only 4 people have this skill. At the same time, it's the 4 arms of the court. Once you reach the highest level of this martial art, cultivators will have 7 fires of life, 7 lives and 7 knitting. Stand up and wipe the blood from your face. A cold look at the rest. Okay, let's start the second round. I don't know about the 7 stars. To see him is to wake up. It's impossible to believe. What the hell is going on? Why can a person still be alive after the fire of life in him has been extinguished? Take out a sword. Then remove the gloves. It's simple. It's because we have more than 1 fire. Finished talking, he slashed his hand with a sword. Fresh blood immediately. His hand flowed down to the ground. The frog saw it, although not understand at SAO, but unconsciously afraid to step back. After fresh blood flowed down, stay still and look at them. You should be proud to have made me so. You have to use this trick. He knows he's going to be a fearless frog. Immediately swirled the treasure in the hand. Keep your mouth shut. Nam Fuang Lai fire sword. According to his voice. Let him be the center of the fire again. Next, direct the frogs. Frog loves quick stop motion. The French dodged a blow. Then he turned his head and ran away. He looked at the shadow of his back with contempt. You can't escape, son. The fire was so intense. Keep up this momentum. The border will soon be filled with a sea of donkeys. Frog love fear too quickly turns the magic. I want to close the door to escape. Cool face looking at it. I don't know much about what's in your hand, as well as its capabilities and limitations, but something so powerful. Then conditions activate and release them. It's got to be more complicated than ever. Just as he said, despite his best efforts. But the frog still can't retract the boundary. Before the fire comes, he was powerless to stand there. I watched the fire cover myself. And Tran hung boundary. I'm standing in front of 2 dead monsters. Like this, I can still control it. The body, even without hearing. Just the sight and feel of the gas. I can still fight B-class monsters. But it seems that the queen must reach level A+. I can't face one with it. Maybe I should go back to recovery first. Think about here. He was about to retreat when the ground suddenly shook. In front of him, there immediately appeared a giant muskrat. On top of the barge, the queen and the beggar were staring at him. The queen looked at him and asked the beggar. He's a 4-star beggar shaking his head. That piece of shit doesn't even live to be 15. Of course not. When I saw the 2 of you, I was terrified. That's the queen. The queen looked at him and raised her hand. Then the hand closed. Follow that around Tran Hung. From the ground, countless spikes sprang up. Tran Hung had absolutely no way to resist. They immediately pierced their whole body. Life is once again on the brink. Gently processed Tran Hung. The new queen despised Ra. It's rubbish. She then rides on the back of the snake and leaves the town. With sharp spikes in place. Look. Follow the shadow of her back. She's scared of aesthetics. Queen Donga has gone to war. I have to report this to the bar. Or at least the district of Hanam. 10 good 10, I'm sorry. Your master can't keep this promise. Very fast, the fire of Tran Hung's life was once again extinguished. 10 people playing in the room suddenly become stupid. Two-eyed godless girl looks out the window and calls her master. 10 good people running into the forest. Suddenly, the storm stopped. When I saw it stop, 10 people immediately stopped asking, "What's going on?" I was startled to hear you ask. There's nothing inside the octopus right now. After the queen left, the lovers gathered together to discuss. Something happened to the captain and the captain. And if they're okay, then our queen. I didn't have to code it myself. While they are busy. Then a leopard stood out. Be quiet, everyone. Be quiet. Just finished. He was beaten up by a fisherman. After hitting the newspaper, he looked. The rest of the lovers said, I will go to the east to take revenge. Does anyone want to follow me? Move the scene to the fishing village. After the frogs were burned to death, the boundary has also gradually disappeared. He also quickly recovered his fire. Wait until all the fire is done. There's only one piece of wasteland left. Slowly go to the monster's body. The frog's magic is broken in two. Sun's pipe is still intact. Go quietly and pick it up. Then definitely use the power to crush. At this moment, his eyes suddenly turned to the side. In front, the queen and the beggar were also chased by the serpent. When he saw her appear, he spoke. The piper has finally appeared. The beggar is about to remind. The queen stopped him. Needless to say, I look at myself. He is one of the 4 heroes on my level. Just listen to it. The face has also become a bit unsightly. The useless ones in the stars. It doesn't even measure the difference between level A and disaster level. 2 people staring at each other. Then they say hello in unison. Then the queen raised her hand. If it is quiet, it will quickly call out to the south. Wing. The difference is that this time it's not 2 wings as always. The 4 queens laughed when they saw it. This gas is also strong. Know that the opponent is not easy to play. Without any hesitation to develop Ra. Nam Phuong Lai fire the strongest level. The fire from the fireball behind him immediately broke out. Attack the queen. She watched the fire coming. There is no intention of avoiding. Just faintly yelled up. Octopus harmony. Just hit it straight on the snake's head. Where the queen is standing. Look at the dust in front of the leaves. It's not hard to understand. I didn't want to avoid her so confident. Very fast. In the dust, the queen's voice came out again. The hell with her voice. The ground around the saddle leaf. There are countless small holes. Next from the inside. In a bucket, the sharp octopus immediately sprang up. They're bouncing up and intertwining tightly. To form a cage. He was immediately locked in there above his head. Blind snake scatter away. The queen is still standing there. No harm. The last fire of peace. Completely shielded by the octopus. Stopped in front of her. And then slowly, he disappeared from his head. The beggar snake stood to one side. Look at the space below laughing. He's very confident. Even if there was a chance to escape. But he didn't. The queen waved her hands and laughed coldly. He will regret it. Follow her movements. Under the surrounding ground, once again, there are countless ginkgo FLIs. Waiting to fly over the cage. Then they stop. After a moment, the king held his hand. Immediately like a vulture. Straight under the cage. Move the scene to the 10th. 2 people running in the forest. Suddenly, the Lord spoke again. I can feel the monster in front of me. There are some. 10 good listening, then stop. What do you mean by that? When I hear you ask, I answer. The leader is the devil, which your master defeated the day before. 10 good listening is quiet. Then bite your teeth and tell me where they are. At this time, the head of the buffalo is leading the brothers towards the east day. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed through. The monster that came after disappeared. Fisherman Head loves to go ahead and also feels like something is wrong. He immediately turned his head and looked. Why are we missing someone? The monsters looked back when they heard that. One of them disappeared in them. It was caught by 10 good hands. The city is next door. Remind them they've realized there's someone around. The first fisherman immediately assigned to the rest. Go check around. Look at the monsters who are looking for you. The city asked. They know someone's around. Hide or stay here. 10 virtues face down to fall into contemplation. After a while, you are determined to stay. While the two of you discuss the contrast next door, a monster slowly appeared nearby. See, done. He immediately screamed, and he was right here. The rest of the monsters heard the sound. Then immediately turn your head and look. 10 good people have now caught the one-sided monster, here. But a bunch of buffalo heads got it. Immediately shout to catch it. 10 virtues not at all due to the immediate turn away. The hammerhead shark looked at the monsters behind and said, whoever's running fast, round him up from both sides. He's just a boy. Not very strong. 10 good people just run and turn around to ask the city, is that buffalo chasing me? Touch the wind for a moment and then land no. 10 good listening, the corners of the mouth are slightly raised. He immediately deployed the Air Force. His body was instantly strengthened. Become red like Tran Hung. Then he didn't run anymore. But immediately turn your head, jump back to the monsters behind. The mouse ran fast behind him. 10 good things suddenly come back. Makes it extremely surprising. It hasn't had time to react yet. He was beaten through the head by a boy. After processing the beloved mouse, 10 good immediately turned and ran up to a nearby tree. After a while, the other 3 monsters came. Look at the mouse laying there. The hammerhead shark is a little unbelievable. No, he's dead. He did it. 10 goodness hiding on the top of the tree. Look at the monsters below. I still can't control it. The whole body is like a master. So if you focus the energy on the index finger and the middle finger, it will be much easier. That way, at least, I don't have to worry about screaming. Until I confronted that buffalo head. The head sits in the distance. I'm a little impatient right now. Why is it so long? It's just a kid. That makes you lose your strength. On the queen's side now. There was fresh blood in the cage. I have seen him smile many times. But it still makes me very excited. The queen was a little mistrustful. That's it. Top players in the field are only at this level. That's too weak. The beggar looked at her thinking. If the queen had a little more time to grow even more, he'll be a big threat. Of the great tons in the Central Highlands, but this is too far. Since the decision to show up and to be discovered by the great onslaught, being surrounded by the Supreme Court, will be unavoidable. I need to accomplish my goal. It's time to leave. You shouldn't stay here and die with her. After thinking for a moment, he spoke up. Your Majesty. The queen could hardly understand that and glanced at him. The old man saw her look back and said quickly, this battle, not where a beggar like me is. Maybe get involved. Please let me back up. The queen nodded when she heard. When the old man agreed to her, he clasped his hands and thanked her. "Thank you. Please take care," and then immediately disappeared in place. Very quickly inside the cage there was a fire rising. The queen was not afraid to laugh. "You want to burn my bones?" Very quickly, the cage was destroyed by a fire. The saddle on you filled with wounds slowly come out. He looked at the queen and said, "Queen, people who can control their bones a little bit don't. It's dangerous." The queen laughed coldly when she heard that. "I think you're a little wrong. Our power is not control. Or control, where it's the ruler, according to her voice." Under the ground immediately, there are two giant octopus hands. Then immediately clap on the person who is still. He was caught by the other two hands. Disdain to speak. Domination, sao ridiculous. Then the fire burned again. The octopus's arm was quickly destroyed by it. "Get out of there quietly. Everything in this world, they all belong to the emperor. A dirty monster like you. Dare to open your mouth and claim it. It's crazy. You will pay dearly for that fantasy." Follow his yell. The fire immediately destroyed the sky without going up. The beggar is a long way away now. Just walking and laughing, now the whole world. All know southern Zhou Tuk of Hanam Highway. Then move the scene to the head of the buffalo. It feels the shock. The face immediately becomes tense. This is the queen fighting. The 10 virtues had already dealt with the Kier monsters. You immediately release the booster. Capture the air in the body. Then he turned his head to the city. "What is wrong? You're acting strange." The city immediately responded. "The fish are stronger than I thought." Many. He's reached the highest level of humanity. The battle of the great powers. It also makes the city chaotic. People are constantly fleeing and evacuating. Run fast to the earthquake. The earthquake is here. What's going on over there in the mountains? On the side of the mountains where the queen and the duke were fighting. The sky has changed now too. Black clouds of electricity covered an area of the sky. Below the ground, countless hands poking out against the saddle. Leaves saddle body agile. A way to avoid left-right conflict in the forest. Arm ginkgo. The battle of two. It can be said that the earthquake. The beggar in the distance was horrified. In that moment, when you're both fully focused on the battle. Queen of the cave, and one of the 4 fairies. They didn't realize that the south had fire and ginkgo. It's changed the terrain here. They're like bright ice stars in the night sky. Only with the naked eye. The whole of Hanam. Everyone can see this scene. Hongdu, too, in the body of Zhu Bin walking in the city. It's also amazing. Look. The south is divided, and the Duke of Zhou is fighting. And there are people who are in deep trouble. Also realize that the absolute Kai of the great power in Trung Nu Yen are being swayed once again. In a courtroom, 2 men in red coats. I'm also looking up at the sky. What's the dwarf asking? There's 2 disaster leaders fighting in the east. One of them could be one of the 4. Uncle Chu Sao is not that he is in Hadong. To guard the Sanman Quan or Sao, it must be because the queen of the cave has gone to war. But even the truth doesn't make him show up. But this time again. It looks like the AI is up to something mysterious. The curtain is interesting if it's not. The queen. There was no need to reveal myself so soon. The ghost statue is in the temple right now. There is also fresh blood in the corners of the eyes. Inside the forest, the devil is in one place. Look at the opposite mountain. The ground tilts and looks.